Welcome, wanderer of the sleepless night. You are here now, not in your modern bed, with your soft pillow and hum of quiet electricity, but somewhere older. Dry. Unimpressed by your comfort. You are in ancient Egypt, where time unfolds like papyrus left too long in the sun. And tonight, we will drift through one of the strangest little miracles of old logic and patient labor, how they stored ice in the desert. Before we begin, take a breath. A slow one. Maybe two. You don't have to learn anything. Just rest here. Float in the sandstorm of time. If you enjoy gentle tales of dust, bricks, and surprisingly clever people doing unreasonably difficult things, you may want to subscribe and leave a sleepy comment, perhaps something like "Ice in Egypt" or "Brilliantly boring." It helps this little caravan of calm keep going. Now close your eyes, or don't. There is no test. Only silence. And 1,000 years of quiet sand. Let's begin. You're not yourself anymore. You are someone else, someone quiet and sunburnt. Your skin is tough from wind and sun. Your clothes are rough woven linen, the kind that itches until you stop noticing. You've woken before the sun, again. Because the sun here is not something to sleep through. It is something to avoid. There is a job waiting for you. Not a glamorous job, of course. Those belong to the priests and the scribes, who get to write lies in beautiful ink and pretend they know the gods. You, on the other hand, work with mud. You move it, shape it, stack it, and wait for it to dry. Your family has done this for generations. Some might call it boring. You might call it dependable. Until the project changed. A nobleman, plump, important, suspiciously clean, came weeks ago with a strange demand. A cool house. Not just shaded. Cold. Cold like the north. Cold like things that make your teeth chatter and your nose drip. You don't know why. Maybe he's ill. Maybe he's a show-off. Or maybe he dreams of snow like a man dreams of flight. It doesn't matter. He is rich. He has scribes who can lie for him and guards who can hit for him. And so the order came down, build a house that stores ice. You blinked when you heard it. Ice. Here. You live in a place where water boils with nothing but the afternoon. Where bread bakes itself if forgotten in the sun. Where even the Nile gets tired by midday. But still, the nobleman insists. He has his ways. And now, so do you. So you begin. Not with the ice, that comes later, from strange men with fast boats and something to prove. You begin with the pit. You dig, slowly, carefully, somewhere behind the house. The air grows cooler as you descend. Not cool like an oasis, but cool like the absence of trouble. A sort of hollow cold. The earth smells like dust and clay and beetle droppings. It sticks to your hands, dry and yet somehow wet. You do not complain. That would be effort. And effort is best saved for lifting. A man beside you, your cousin, maybe, or someone your cousin married, wipes his forehead with a cloth that used to be white. He mutters something about sorcery. You agree silently. What else could explain a nobleman who wants cold in the desert? Eventually, the pit is deep. Deep enough that light bends away. You line it with stone. Not the shiny kind for temples. Just stone. Heavy, square, and full of spiders who don't seem pleased. You pack earth between the cracks, stomp it, spit on it, and whisper to it, like your grandfather did when he built grain vaults that never leaked. He said the earth listens. You don't believe him, but you whisper anyway. Then comes the lining, straw, cloth, more straw, old papyrus from someone else's taxes. Everything useless becomes useful again. There is something oddly touching about it. Like a coffin for the heat. You smile. Just once. Then stop. Smiles are thirsty things, and water is still a long walk away. The ice arrives one evening. It is wrapped in linen, packed in sawdust, and looks unremarkable. Just water, pretending to be hard. But the nobleman touches it with a reverence you do not understand. Like a memory that hurts. He stares at it too long. Then turns to you, nods once, and walks away. You and your fellow laborers lower it into the pit. You feel the cold on your fingers and gasp, as if touching a ghost. It's not supposed to be here. It's a mistake of geography. But it is here. And you've put it there. The lid goes on, thick stone, sealed with pitch in silence. The nobleman builds a room over it. Simple, shaded, lined with jars of oil and quiet pride. He will sit there in the afternoon and whisper to his guests that the room is cooler. That he has beaten the sun. That he has captured the north. Maybe he has. You will never sit in that room. You will not be invited. But you will walk past it for years, knowing that beneath your feet is a cold lump of stolen water, protected from time and heat by your hands. And in your quiet way, that will be enough. You lie on your back that night, on your roof, like always. The stars are dull tonight. Or maybe your eyes are too full of dust. Your mother asks how the work went. You say, fine. She doesn't ask more. That is the way here. Everyone is too tired to be curious. But inside, there is a strange sense of pride. Not the loud kind. The soft, heavy kind that feels like sleep. You close your eyes. Somewhere, in a stone-lined hole, the ice waits. Fading slowly. Like all things do. And above it, the nobleman sighs and says, "Ah, it is cool today." He is wrong, of course. But some lies are worth building. The next morning does not feel like a new beginning. In ancient Egypt, mornings are just slightly less aggressive extensions of the night. You wake not because you're rested, but because the sun is already angry with you. It wants you up. Out. Moving. You obey. Your feet are dusty before they touch the ground. There is never a moment when they aren't. The rooftop is warm under your back, even before sunrise. The wind carries a hint of fish from the river and sweat from the city. Somewhere, a goat bleats in protest, maybe against existence itself. Or maybe just because it's Tuesday. You stretch, but carefully. Your bones are not old, not exactly, but they've done too many things that feel like mistakes. Your joints crack in ways that feel vaguely spiritual. Today, you're not digging. Not building. Not sealing. Today is observation day, a strange reward from the nobleman who, apparently, believes watching a pit is as valuable as constructing one. Perhaps he thinks the ice will run away. You walk to the storage house. Slowly. There is no rush. No one expects speed in this heat. Not even the gods. Especially not the gods. The only fast things here are flies and curses. The storage house sits like a secret. Low. Humble. Forgettable. That's the point. A temple boasts. A granary feeds. But a cool room in the desert. That's a whisper. A hidden smile. A small rebellion against the obvious truth that everything here is supposed to burn. You step inside. It's slightly cooler. Not cold. Not exactly. But there is a stillness here. A gentleness in the air. No breeze, no echo. Just walls and silence and the knowledge that below you, ice still exists. You sit in the corner. Your job is simple. Make sure no one opens the lid. No one touches the stone. No one tries to sell the ice to the next village over, or chip off a piece for their feverish aunt. It's ridiculous, really. What kind of thief would risk punishment for something that melts? But then, you remember the nobleman's face. That longing. That delicate need. people have done worse for less. Hours pass. You watch shadows move like tired dancers. You count the cracks in the wall. You imagine the ice down below, unmoving, unaware, ungrateful. You wonder how long it will last. How many days? How many insults from the sun it can take? Someone walks in, a boy. Barefoot. Dust-colored like everything else. He stares at you with the confidence of the ignorant. Is it true? He asks. You raise an eyebrow. That there's cold down there. You shrug. Maybe. He grins. They say it's magic. You look at the floor. They say many things. He leans forward. Can I touch it? You shake your head. No one touches it. He frowns. Why? You consider this. Not the rules. Not the nobleman's orders. But the truth. Why not? You reply, because then it wouldn't be special. He blinks, then leaves. Just like that. Maybe to chase a goat. Or a dust devil. Or his own imagination. You are left alone again. You don't mind. You like silence. It doesn't ask questions. Time trickles by, slower than syrup, if syrup were made of sand and regret. You feel the weight of the heat pushing against the walls, but it can't quite get in. The air holds. The stone holds. The silence holds. You wonder how they knew. The builders. The thinkers. The ones who figured this out. That burying ice could keep it alive. That cold, when trapped deep enough, can fight back. Not forever. But long enough. You heard once that snow was brought here from the mountains. Packed in straw, wrapped in linen, rowed down river by men who must have questioned every life choice that led them to that boat. Perhaps some of it melted. Perhaps all of it did. But someone kept trying. Over and over. Until one day, a chunk arrived intact. And now here you are, sitting above it. Like a guardian of nonsense. You lean back against the wall. It's cool to the touch. Not icy, but less hot. Like the memory of cold. A ghost. You close your eyes and imagine snow. You've never seen it, of course. Only heard stories. It sounds wet. Inconvenient. Slippery. But also soft. Maybe the nobleman has seen snow. Maybe not. Maybe he just dreams of it. Wants to say he owns something others can't. Wants to sit in the middle of a furnace and declare himself frost-kissed. You open your eyes. Someone else enters, a servant, carrying a tray. On it, oil for the lamps, a cloth soaked in something sweet, and a small, round fruit that looks like it was chilled. You blink. The servant bows slightly, places the tray on a side table, and leaves. Not a word spoken. Not a glance exchanged. The cloth smells of mint. The fruit, of citrus and secrets. You stare at it. How long did it sit in that pit? How long did it dream of being eaten? You don't touch it. It's not yours. You're just the watcher. The listener. The one who sits beside something impossible and treats it like a fact. You lean back. Breathe. Listen. The walls say nothing. The stone says nothing. Even the ice, proud, cold, smug, says nothing. But somehow, you know it's still there. Still waiting. Still winning, for now. And outside, the sun snarls against the sky, furious that something dares to be different. But inside this little box of silence and dust, the cold survives. For now. The heat doesn't really go away in Egypt. It just pretends to. At night, it hides beneath the stone and waits for morning like an old cat crouched in a dark corner, tail twitching, eyes half-lidded. You are awake again, not because of the sun this time, but because your body has learned to rise with the city's rhythms, the groans of carts, the first clink of bronze bowls, the mumble of someone 3 rooftops away telling their child to be quiet. You sit up slowly, rubbing the sleep from your eyes, the crusted sand from the corners, the stiffness from your neck. Last night, a beetle shared your bed. It was polite. It left at dawn. You stretch your arms and listen to the city yawn. Life begins early here, not out of preference, but out of survival. The hours between sunrise and true sun are all you get to do anything without soaking in your own sweat. You reach for your water pot. The clay is cool, not from ice of course, just from being forgotten in the shade. You sip slowly. The water tastes of last week's rain, distant wells, and maybe a little mold. But it's wet. That's all that matters. There is no ceremony to your morning. No divine spark. No soft music or scented candles. Just the same linen tunic, the same cracked sandals, the same familiar ache in your thighs from squatting too much while lifting too many things that don't want to be lifted. You pass your neighbor's house, where a woman pours grain into a pot. She nods at you, not because she's friendly, but because it's expected. You nod back, because resisting routine here is like resisting gravity. Pointless. Today, your job is not even guarding. Today you are checking the pit. Not the ice itself, that would require permission and several layers of linen-based bureaucracy. No, you're just to check the outer walls, the vents, the seals, the clever little holes that allow heat to rise and escape while cold, in theory, stays sleeping. It's a strange kind of maintenance, this daily battle with the sun's ambition. But in a place where bread rises without fire and dates ferment just by being looked at too long, every tiny victory matters. You enter the house again. The door creaks, but not loudly. It's the sort of creak that only you seem to hear, like a whispered complaint from the wood. Inside, everything looks exactly the same. That's the goal. Change, here, usually means failure. A cracked jar. A leak. A footprint where no foot should be. But there are none. The silence is intact. You move slowly, like the room expects reverence. You press your hand to the north wall. Still cooler. You close your eyes and imagine the ice beneath you, unchanged, unspeaking, unaware of the chaos it causes simply by not being warm. Someone once told you that true wealth is invisible. That in a city where gold gleams and statues groan under their own weight, the most powerful objects are the quietest ones. A piece of ice in a hole. A name on a scroll. A promise never said aloud. You don't know if that's true. But you think about it anyway, as you check the stone seams for heat cracks. The stone doesn't speak, of course. But if it did, it might say something like, "I was never meant for this." As you finish the inspection, a breeze finds its way through the high vent. It smells faintly of river mud and fish. And beneath it, something colder. Something impossible. You pause, just for a second, and let it pass over your skin. Goosebumps, briefly. Not because of the air itself, probably, but because of what it reminds you of. A time when things felt new. Or strange. Or maybe just cooler. You step back into the sun. It greets you rudely. The light is loud. The ground already hot. You cover your head with a scrap of cloth and squint toward the Nile. Boats move like beetles across the water. One of them, you imagine, is bringing more ice. Or at least trying to. You picture the men on board, rowing, cursing, sweating, praying that the straw and sawdust hold. You've never spoken to them. You probably never will. But in a strange, indirect way, you're on the same team. Cold against heat. Time against time. And always losing, but slowly. Back at your house, your mother is pounding grain into flour. She doesn't stop as you enter. She doesn't ask about your day. She already knows. The world here does not change much. And when it does, it pretends it hasn't. You sit beside her and peel a figure. The juice runs sticky down your thumb. You lick it off. It tastes like sun and sweetness and rot. Not unpleasant. Just honest. In the corner of the room, your father sleeps. He's not old, exactly. Just older than work allows. His hands still twitch in his sleep, gripping imaginary tools. You wonder if he dreams of the same heat, the same cold, the same pits and stones and noblemen who ask impossible things. You hope not. Dreams should be better than that. As evening arrives, you wander back toward the nobleman's house. Not to guard, not to check, just to be near it. There is something soothing about its stillness, like a tomb without sorrow. You sit under the acacia tree nearby. Its shade is thin, but loyal. You watch the sky turn from gold to copper to something like regret. Bats begin to flicker above the rooftops. A child laughs somewhere behind you, chasing a dog who does not want to be chased. You lean your head against the tree and close your eyes. For a moment, you imagine you are the ice, deep in the earth, forgotten, preserved, useful only because you do not change. The thought is oddly comforting. You are still. You are cold. You are undisturbed. And though no one sees you, they all depend on you. You, too, are invisible wealth. Sleep pulls gently at your thoughts. Not suddenly. Not with drama. Just a slow, warm tug behind the eyes. Your limbs feel heavy in the good way. Like sandbags on a boat, holding you steady. The wind carries a distant flute. Or maybe it's a bird. Or maybe it's nothing at all. And beneath your back, far below the ground, the ice waits. Quiet. Proud. Slightly annoyed. Just like you. Evening in the city is not truly cool. It is simply less aggressive. The walls still radiate the sun they swallowed all day. The streets hold the heat like secrets. But the air becomes a little braver. It moves again, stirring faint smells from corners you forgot existed. Roasted lentils. Animal dung. Perfumed oil spilled near the temple steps 3 days ago and never cleaned. The kind of smells that live in old cities, not bad, not good, just always. They hum softly in the background, like a tired song the earth doesn't know how to stop singing. You walk slowly, not because you're tired, though you are, but because there's no reason not to. The work is done. The pit is sealed. The nobleman is, for now, satisfied. You have no more instructions, no more tools in your hands, no clever plans to execute. You're just a figure in the story, pausing between events, like a comma in a long sentence no one remembers starting. The moon is climbing. Not quickly. The moon here is never in a hurry. It takes its time, inching over the palm trees, painting soft silver onto the dust. The river, far off, reflects pieces of it like broken glass. You wonder if the ice sees it too. You wonder if the cold beneath the earth feels anything about the night. You arrive at your friend's rooftop. He's there already, of course, stretched flat on a mat, arms behind his head, chewing on something crunchy and slightly sour. He offers you a bite. You decline. He shrugs. He doesn't ask about your day, either. But you talk anyway. You tell him about the wall, still cool. The small breeze that smelled like old rain. The fruit you didn't eat. The child who asked too many questions. You don't expect him to care. That's not why you're talking. You just want to say the words out loud. Make them real. Anchor them in the world like stones on the edge of a map. He grunts occasionally. That's his way of showing support. He's not a man of many thoughts, but he knows how to listen without needing anything back. It's a rare kind of gift, rarer than ice, maybe. You lie there together in the dark, counting stars without really counting. Someone is playing a drum 2 streets over. It's out of rhythm. You like it more because of that. Eventually, your friend turns to you. His voice is low. Do you think it will melt? You don't answer right away. The question is too big for an answer. Not because of the ice. That will melt, of course. Everything does. But because of what he means. Do you think the nobleman will lose interest? Do you think this whole idea, cold in a hot world, will last? Do you think anything unusual survives? You say, it doesn't matter. He nods, as if that settles it. And maybe it does. Later, much later, you dream. But it's not the kind of dream with stories or symbols or strange meanings you can whisper to a priest. It's just a place. A room, round and low and lined with stone. There is no ceiling. Just stars above. And in the center, a shallow pool of water that never moves. It reflects everything, the sky, your face, the quiet. You walk around it, careful not to disturb the surface. You kneel. You look in. And in the reflection, you see snow. White. Soft. Falling. It doesn't belong there. But it's there. When you wake, your mouth is dry and your limbs are wrapped in heat again. The morning comes with no apology. The rooster down the street screams like he's being punished for a crime he hasn't committed. You sigh. Stretch. Stand. Repeat. The nobleman has summoned you. This is not usual. You walk to his house, unsure if you should be nervous. Probably not. You've done your work. You've followed every odd instruction. You've sealed every crack and guarded every inch. Still, the uncertainty makes your fingers fidget with the hem of your tunic. Inside, he sits in his cool room, a shallow bowl in front of him. Steam rises. But not the warm kind. Not incense or tea. This is cold. Mist. Tiny fingers of frost dancing above the surface. You feel it from across the room, like stepping into a memory you didn't know you had. He gestures for you to approach. You do. Inside the bowl is a piece of ice. Small. Perfect. Clear enough to see a thread of straw trapped inside, like a mistake frozen in time. He doesn't smile, but his eyes soften. I wanted you to see it, he says. Before it's gone. You nod. What else can you do? This is not for praise. This is not gratitude. It's something else. An offering, maybe. Or an ending. He lets it melt. No ceremony. No words. Just silence, long and deep and almost sacred. You stand there together, watching the droplet grow, the lines fade, the cold die. Then he says, "Thank you." And that is the end of the moment. You walk out, your feet unsure if they touched the ground. The sun greets you rudely again. But this time, you feel less bothered. Because beneath all this heat, all this dust and history and noise, something quiet happened. And it was real. You return home. Your mother hands you bread. Your father coughs twice and goes back to sleep. The world spins, unimpressed. And yet, you know something. You held the cold. Not with your hands, maybe. But with your work. With your waiting. That night, you lie on your roof again. The stars are closer now. The sky softer. You let yourself forget the names of things. You let your breath slow. You let the memory of coolness rest behind your eyes like a lullaby. And as your thoughts drift, weightless and slow, you picture the ice. Not the one in the bowl, not the one in the pit, but the idea of it. Cold, clear, and quietly winning. Just for a little while. Just long enough for sleep to find you. There are many kinds of silence in a place like this. There's the loud silence of the marketplace before dawn, when every mouth is full of bread or prayers and even the birds haven't decided if it's worth waking up. There's the thick silence of a temple's inner court, where voices are swallowed whole by stone and secrets. And then there's the kind you're in now, the silence of the cold house. A silence so still it almost hums. Not empty. Not dead. Just waiting. You are alone again in the room, sitting near the sealed pit, not touching anything, not speaking. The nobleman hasn't come today. There's no visitor. No curious servant peeking in. Just you. And the knowledge that somewhere beneath your feet, the ice is still alive. Still there. Still doing what no one expects it to do. It's strange to think about, something so fragile winning against a force as relentless as the desert. But it is winning. Quietly. Invisibly. Just by not melting yet. You lean back against the wall and breathe in slowly. The air doesn't feel cold, exactly. But it's not hot either. It's less. Less than the outside. Less than yesterday. Less than you thought possible. You begin to wonder how much of this is real and how much is your own imagination, softened by too many hours in the sun and too many stories told in the dark. Your fingers play with a loose thread on your tunic. The fabric is worn thin, soft from countless washes and careless work. You remember when it was new, stiff, scratchy, brighter than now. Everything fades here. Clothes. Walls. Dreams. Even names, if you wait long enough. But the ice hasn't faded yet. It holds. It waits. It becomes something more than just frozen water. It becomes a symbol, a quiet promise that not everything has to burn. The floor beneath you is stone, smooth in places, rough in others. Your feet know every bump by now. You've walked this pattern 100 times, maybe more. And yet each step still feels strange. Like walking on top of a secret. You think about the men who brought the ice, the ones on the boats, the ones rowing through heat and flies, wrapping the blocks in straw and fear and hope. Did they ever wonder what would happen to it? Or did they just carry it because someone paid them to? Maybe that's the whole story of history, people doing strange, impossible things because someone rich told them to. You close your eyes and try to imagine snow again. Not the word, not the idea, but the feeling. Soft. Weightless. Falling like silence. You wonder what it would be like to see it with your own eyes, not in a dream, not on the back of a painted scroll, but in front of you. Real. Cold enough to sting your skin and make you laugh out loud. You've never laughed at cold. Only at heat, the delirious, desperate kind of laughter that comes when everything is too much and your body decides to be ridiculous. The door creaks. You don't move. It's probably a servant again. They come sometimes. Sweep the floor. Check the jars. Pretend they're not curious about what lies beneath the stones. But today, no one enters. The door opens, then slowly closes. Maybe the breeze. Maybe a mistake. Or maybe even the room itself deciding to breathe for a moment. You sigh. Not with frustration. Just with the kind of deep, slow exhale that comes when you've run out of anything else to say. There's comfort in that. No more explaining. No more pretending. Just being. You, the stone, the air, and the quiet cold that waits below. Outside, the city moves without you. A child cries because someone took their honey cake. A donkey refuses to walk forward. A scribe yells at his apprentice for ruining a scroll with the wrong ink. Life goes on, loud, hot, ordinary. But here in this room, time has slowed. It has thickened, like old honey, and clings to the edges of your thoughts. You wonder if the nobleman will ever tire of this. If he'll decide one day that coolness is not worth the effort. That the pit can be filled in, the stone sold off, the room used for jars or grain or quiet shame. Maybe. But not today. Today, the ice is still here. And that matters. You lie down on the mat in the corner. You're not supposed to. But no one is watching. The stone beneath your back is firm. The air around you hums softly with stillness. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to feel the dark behind your lids. It's darker here than outside. Softer. Like velvet dust. You hear your own breath. In and out. In and out. You match it to an old rhythm, the sound of waves on the riverbank, the pulse of rowing oars, the quiet chant of a boatman carrying a miracle wrapped in straw. You drift. Not fully asleep, not fully awake. Just floating. Your thoughts become slower, heavier, more gentle. You think about cold. You think about heat. You think about the strange way people chase one and flee the other, then change their minds. You think about how something as simple as a block of ice can become a reason to build a room, to hire guards, to whisper stories into the night. And then you don't think at all. Not really. You just exist. In this room. In this silence. In this moment that no one will remember, and that's okay. Because not everything needs remembering. Some things just need to be still, cool, and gone. The days pass like they always do, not in a rush, not in glory, but with the soft patience of sand filling a jar grain by grain. You no longer count them. There's no reason to. The work has become routine, and the routine has become silence. There are no new orders. No new visitors. Only the gentle rhythm of returning each morning to the same square room, pressing your palm to the same cool stone, listening for the same absence of sound. And each time, it is still there, the faint, impossible chill that doesn't belong to this world but remains here anyway, like a ghost that refuses to leave. You've begun to think of the ice as a kind of god. Not a loud god with statues and temples and gold. But a quiet one. A god of resistance. A god that lives in hiding, beneath the surface, surviving against reason. You don't pray to it. But you nod to it when you enter. A small sign of respect, shared between you and something that doesn't speak. You think it understands. Outside, the heat continues its slow war against everything. The walls crack in places no one remembers to fix. The river shrinks and bloats in time with the moon. The people don't complain, not loudly. They've accepted the heat like they accept everything, with tired shoulders and eyes that look past you. But inside the nobleman's storage house, the world is different. The air carries something you don't smell elsewhere. Not perfume. Not incense. But the memory of coolness. A presence that reminds your skin of something it's never truly felt. It's almost nothing. But it is enough. Some days, you bring a stool and simply sit. Not for duty. Not because anyone asked. Just because the room feels better than the outside. Like a shelter not just from weather, but from thought. You've grown used to the quiet here. The way your own breath becomes part of the room. The way time forgets to move if you sit still enough. You sometimes wonder if you're freezing too, slowly, from the inside. Becoming part of the house. A man-shaped silence. Still. Dry. Cold. You begin to notice things. Tiny changes. A crack near the corner that wasn't there before. A draft that comes from nowhere. A shift in the smell of the straw bundles near the walls. Nothing big. Nothing urgent. But things that whisper of time's slow intrusion. The ice will not last forever. You know this. But now you feel it. Deep in your bones. It is dying. Softly. Quietly. Like an old man who smiles and walks into the desert because he remembers where the oasis used to be. You don't tell the nobleman. He doesn't ask anymore. He hasn't visited the room in days. Perhaps he's bored. Or perhaps he fears seeing the end of something he pretended would last. That's the thing about cold, it demands belief. Once you know it can melt, the magic turns into math. One morning, you find something strange. A bead of water near the edge of the lid. Small. Clear. Innocent. You stare at it for a long time. You don't touch it. But you feel it touch you, in your stomach, in your throat. You whisper to it. Not words. Just breath. Then you wipe it away. Later that day, a boy comes by again, the same one who asked about the ice before. He peeks inside the room, eyes wide with the wonder only the very young can hold on to. You don't send him away this time. You let him stand in the doorway, silent, blinking. He asks, "Is it still there?" You nod. "Can I see it?" You shake your head. He frowns, not angry, just puzzled. Why not? You think about it for a long time. Then you say, because seeing it would make it real. And if it's real, it melts. He doesn't understand. Not really. But he nods anyway and sits beside you on the ground. You both look at the stone lid, like it's the entrance to another world. A frozen one. A kinder one. He doesn't talk again. He just sits there. Then, after a while, he leaves without a word. You don't tell anyone about that either. That night, you walk the city before sleep. Not because you're restless. Not because there's anything to do. But because the streets feel a little less loud. The market has closed. The fires have dimmed. People whisper instead of shout. You pass the old baker's shop, the one that sells those burnt date rolls your father likes to pretend he doesn't love. You pass the broken statue of some forgotten god, its nose missing, its arms too heavy for this life. You sit by the river for a long time. The moon dances across the black water. A crocodile blinks at you once, then glides away like a shadow that grew tired of being stepped on. You think about the ice. You wonder how it feels, knowing it was never meant to be here. Knowing it is surrounded by enemies. Knowing it is dying slowly every second and still refusing to go quickly. There's something beautiful in that. You pick up a smooth pebble from the riverbank and roll it in your fingers. It's cold. Or maybe just less hot. You hold it to your cheek, just to remember. Just to feel something that doesn't burn. When you return home, your mother is asleep. Your father is coughing. The stars are indifferent. But your mind is still with the stone lid. The whisper of melt. The secret god beneath the house. You lie on your mat and close your eyes. And the dream comes again. The same round room. The same still pool. The same snow that falls in a world where snow should never fall. You don't try to explain it. You just let it fall. One flake. Then another. And then, nothing. Only stillness. Only sleep. Only the soft sigh of something fading. But not yet gone. By now, the room has begun to feel like yours. Not in the sense of ownership, of course. You have no title, no scroll with your name on it. You don't sit where the nobleman once sat. You don't unlock anything, or open things, or make decisions. And yet, when you enter the house, when you place your hand gently on the outer wall, when you walk along the same worn path from the door to the pit, you feel a kind of belonging. A quiet kinship. As if the air recognizes your steps. As if the stones sigh slightly beneath your feet in something like acknowledgement. No one else lingers in the room anymore. The servants come less often. The nobleman hasn't appeared at all. Perhaps he grew tired of waiting for something to happen. Or perhaps he got what he needed, a story to tell, a strange luxury to boast about. A tale of a room that stayed cool when everything else burned. Sometimes, all a man really wants is to say, "I did something no one else could." Even if it doesn't last. But you remain. Because you've grown used to the silence, to the feel of thick air that doesn't press so hard on your chest, to the ritual of touching the wall, sitting in the same corner, breathing at a slower pace. It's not a job anymore. It's a rhythm. A soft habit that feels older than you are. You don't speak while you're in there. Not even to yourself. Words feel wrong in the cold room. They're too sharp. Too modern. The space demands stillness. Breath. Thought. Maybe even reverence. You're not sure if what you feel is sacred, but it's something close. A hush. A wait. The kind of feeling that lives in a gap between moments. One afternoon, you find a feather in the corner. Small. Pale. Not from a pigeon or anything common. It's cleaner than that. Softer. You wonder how it got there. Maybe it drifted in through the vent. Maybe it rode in on someone's clothing. Or maybe it was always there, just waiting for you to notice. You hold it between your fingers. It bends slightly. Barely exists. You place it on a small stone shelf beside the wall. It looks right there. Like a prayer no one wrote. You lie back and listen to the room. The small sounds that aren't really sounds. The whisper of cool air brushing against the edges of heat. The shifting of old wood in the ceiling above. The faintest creak in the sealed lid below you. Not movement, not melting, just memory. You breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Slowly. You're not trying to fall asleep, but it wouldn't be wrong if you did. It would feel natural. Like something melting into something else. Outside, the world is still loud. You know this. Somewhere, a merchant is shouting about fish that don't smell like fish. A dog is barking at a child with too much energy. Someone is swearing at a clay pot that cracked for no reason. But none of that reaches you here. The walls are too thick. The air too still. The room too far removed from anything ordinary. You think, for a moment, about leaving. Not forever. Just for a few days. Maybe go visit your uncle's village down the river. Let your body move through different kinds of heat. See faces that haven't seen you in years. Eat something cooked with unfamiliar spices. But the thought fades almost as soon as it comes. You realize you don't want to leave. Not yet. Not while the ice is still here. It feels wrong to leave it alone. As if it needs you. And perhaps it does. You smile, just barely. The idea is absurd. It's ice. It doesn't think. It doesn't feel. But still, it's easy to believe that things start to notice those who notice them. You've given the ice your time. Your silence. Your footsteps. And in return, it has stayed. That night, you don't go straight home. You walk slowly through the city's edge, past the grain storehouses, past the broken aqueduct, out toward the hills where the wind is a little stronger and the smell of people a little weaker. You sit on a flat stone and let the night press around you. It is heavy, but in a kind way. Like a warm blanket you forgot you owned. You look up. The stars are brighter here, away from the oil lamps and cook fires. You see shapes in them, not animals or gods like the priests always say, but simpler things. A jar. A finger. The curve of a cheek. You wonder if the ice remembers the stars. Or if, buried beneath all that stone and straw, it's forgotten what sky even looks like. You lie on your back and close your eyes. The stone beneath you is still warm from the day. You don't mind. Warmth is only a problem when it's greedy. This warmth is tired. Old. Harmless. It lets you rest. You dream again. Of the round room. Of the pool that reflects everything. But this time, something has changed. The water is rising. Not quickly. Not dangerously. But slowly, softly, as if the room is filling with time. You step back. Watch it climb the walls, the stone turning slick, then quiet, then gone. And then there is only the reflection. Endless. Still. You wake without panic. No sweat. No fear. Just the slow realization that morning has returned. The sun hasn't risen yet, but the sky is the color of faded papyrus. Pale. Worn. Familiar. You rise. Stretch. Walk. The day will begin again. The pit will wait. The feather will still be there. And the ice will still not speak. But you will hear it anyway. Because you've learned how to listen. And listening, here, feels like sleep. You no longer tell people where you go each day. They've stopped asking anyway. At first, your neighbors were curious. Even your uncle, the one who always speaks too loudly about things he barely understands, once tried to tease the story out of you. Watching ice in a hole, he chuckled, "Are you sure you're not just taking naps on someone else's mat?" You laughed politely. Didn't answer. Because how do you explain something like this? How do you tell them that what started as a task has become something more, something like a ritual, or a dream you wake into instead of out of? You walk the same path each morning. The same soft slope past the acacia tree. The same few steps around the corner. The same door, stubborn and sun-bleached, that opens a little easier now, as if it recognizes your hand. Inside, the coolness greets you like a loyal animal. It doesn't rush to meet you. Doesn't need to. It's always there. Still. Waiting. You sit in the same place. The air smells as it always does, dry, like earth that forgot how to bake. There's something in the scent that reminds you of temples, but without the incense. A quiet smell. Honest. You rest your head against the wall and close your eyes. You are not tired, not exactly. But there's comfort in the dark, in the absence of sharp color and questions. You breathe in. You don't count the seconds. You've stopped needing numbers here. Something new has happened, though. A crack. Tiny. Hair-thin. Just along the edge of the lid that seals the pit. You noticed it yesterday, but you weren't sure. Today it's still there. Not bigger. Not worse. But present. Like a line drawn by time itself. A quiet warning. Or a soft sigh. You don't panic. The crack isn't threatening. It doesn't split. It doesn't cry out. It just is. You touch it gently with the back of your fingers. The stone feels the same, cool, stubborn, and ancient. But now your fingers remember the crack, and your thoughts can't quite forget it. You think, maybe this is how it ends. Not in drama. Not in noise. But in stillness, broken. Not a collapse. Just a shift. Just one thing giving way to another, too slowly to see but fast enough to matter. You sit back down. A fly buzzes against the high vent. A tired sound. Not aggressive. Just persistent. You watch it for a moment, then let your eyes close again. You think about the nobleman. Where is he now? In the garden. On a boat. With other men of his kind, telling stories about the cold room he once had. Perhaps he's moved on, to other projects, other luxuries. Maybe he's forgotten the ice entirely. You wonder if that's better. Letting it fade. Leaving it unnamed. Or if it deserves more than that. But the ice doesn't care. That's the thing. It never wanted attention. Never asked to be placed here. It's just doing what it does, staying itself for as long as it can, and then not. You take a pebble from your pocket. A smooth one, shaped like a raindrop. You found it near the river last week and liked how it fit in your hand. You place it on the floor beside you. Not for any reason. Just to mark the moment. One small thing left behind, quietly, for no one. That evening, the boy returns. The same one. He never knocks. He just appears, like wind, or a question. He doesn't speak right away. He just stands in the doorway, looking at you. Then he says, "Is it still okay?" You nod. He frowns. "But it won't stay, right?" You pause, then answer. Nothing does. He sits beside you again. This time closer. He doesn't wiggle or talk or try to touch anything. He just sits. He watches the sealed stone like it might blink. After a while, he says, "It's weird that we care." You nod again. He's right. It is weird. Caring about something that melts. Something hidden. Something no one can even see. And yet here you both are, sitting in a room, guarding a ghost of water. When he leaves, he says nothing more. Just walks into the sun and disappears like everything else. You remain. Your breath feels slower today. Your limbs looser. The kind of quiet that seeps into the muscles, not just the mind. The room holds you like a bowl, simple, undecorated, and just deep enough. Night comes, and you don't rush home. Instead, you linger in the house until the very last light has faded from the high vents. Until the floor is shadows. Until your thoughts are slower than your heart. You lie on the mat in a corner again. The same mat. The same dream. And the round room returns. But this time, it's empty. The pool is gone. No snow. No reflection. Just stone. You don't panic. You sit in the center and close your eyes inside the dream. And when you wake, it is with a sense of calm. As if something has been accepted. As if the waiting is no longer the point. Just the being. Just the breath. Just the ice, even if it's fading. Even if you never see it again. In the days that follow, nothing happens. Or perhaps everything happens, but so slowly you can no longer tell the difference. The morning light still leans lazily against the mud brick walls as you walk the familiar path. The door still creaks in its soft, complaining voice. The room still welcomes you, not with joy, not with warmth, but with presence. The kind of presence that asks for nothing and gives something without explanation. You no longer check the seal. Not every day. You know the crack is there. You know it will grow, or it won't. The stone will hold, or it won't. The ice will stay, or it will not. But none of it feels like your job anymore. You are not the guardian now. You are the witness. You are the part of the room that breathes. The part that listens. The part that will remember, even when there's nothing left to touch. Sometimes, you bring things. Small, ordinary things. A piece of dried fruit. A broken bead. A string that once tied a basket shut. You place them gently on the shelf where the feather still rests. You're not sure why. Perhaps to mark the days. Or to offer something to the silence. Or maybe it's just that when you care for something, you give it pieces of yourself, even the smallest ones. Especially the smallest ones. The room doesn't change. But your feelings toward it do. You used to think of it as a marvel. A clever trick. A slap in the face to the desert. Then, as a mystery. Then a duty. Then a poem with no rhyme. Now, it feels like a goodbye stretched out over weeks. A farewell that never needs to be spoken, because everything here already knows how to leave quietly. You begin to sleep there now. Not all night. Not every night. But sometimes, when the streets feel too loud and your family too tired, you unroll the mat, curl your limbs, and let the coldness hold you. It doesn't comfort like warmth does. It doesn't wrap or soften or soothe. It simply makes space. And in that space, your mind slows. Your thoughts wander into corners. And your breath becomes quiet enough to hear the room breathe with you. The dreams are different now. They don't return to the round room. That place has faded. Instead, you dream of walking through snow. Not deep snow. Just the thin layer, spread like ash across a field. You don't wear shoes. Your feet should be cold, but they're not. The snow crunches under you like dry leaves. The sky is low and white and endless. You walk and walk, but you are never tired. Only curious. You look behind you and there are no footprints. As if the snow refuses to remember where you came from. You tell no one about these dreams. One afternoon, when the light through the high vent slants in a new way, you sit cross-legged on the floor and try to remember when you first came here. How many days ago? How many months? You can't. You count backward, but the numbers feel slippery. Was it during the harvest? Before the second flood? After your sister's wedding? The room erases time. That's what you realize. The longer you sit in it, the more the rest of the world fades. Only this remains. This smell. This air. This quiet. The boy returns again, but he's taller now. His hair is different. His voice deeper. You didn't realize how long it had been. He steps into the room without asking and sits beside you. He doesn't ask about the ice. He doesn't say anything at all. Just sits. For a long time. Then he turns to you and says, "I think I understand now." You nod. Not because you understand too, but because it feels like the right answer. He smiles a little. Then leaves. You never see him again. The next morning, you open the door and feel something different. A stillness that is too still. The air inside the room is warm. Not hot. Not loud. Not broken. But changed. The breath of the ice, the quiet pull of cool that once kissed your skin each time you entered, is gone. You walk slowly to the pit. Sit beside it. Press your hand against the stone lid. It is the same. And yet not. The crack has deepened. The stone is dry. You say nothing. There is no panic. No rush to fix. No sorrow you can name. Just a long, slow breath. You remain there for hours. Perhaps all day. You do not move. The house is still silent. But this time, it is the silence of something ending. Not dramatic. Not tragic. Just finished. You think about opening the lid. Just to see. Just to confirm what you already know. But your hand never moves. You don't need to look. Some things are truer when you don't touch them. Outside, the wind begins to rise. The dust dances. The city, as always, continues its noise. But inside this room, there is only you, and the stone, and the echo of something that was once cold. And though it is gone, you still feel it. Inside your breath. Inside your memory. Inside the stillness you now carry like a secret. The days after the ice fades feel different, though almost nothing has changed. The streets still fill with morning dust. The bread still burns if left unattended. The animals still complain in their same strange voices. But something inside you is quieter now. Softer. Not sad, not exactly. Just hollow in a way that feels peaceful. Like a room after the guests have gone, when the floor is still warm with footsteps and the walls still remember the laughter. That kind of hollow. You go back to the house, of course. Not because the ice is there. It isn't. You can feel that now with every step. But because the silence still waits for you. Because your body remembers the way your feet feel walking that path, the way the door opens with just the right amount of effort, the way your breath changes once inside. It would be harder not to go than to go. The stone is warm now. Not hot, but no longer different from the rest of the world. You touch it anyway. Out of habit. Out of love. Out of some quiet promise you never said out loud. The crack along the lid has grown, but it has stopped trying to spread. It is not a thread anymore. Just a line. A memory. A scar. You sit in your usual place and let your shoulders fall into their old shape. The air is thicker now, slower. It holds the sun more than it used to. The breeze from the vent doesn't carry the same strange coolness. But the silence, that beautiful, patient, listening silence, is still here. That hasn't left. You wonder if the silence was ever about the ice at all. Or if it was something older. Something deeper. Something waiting for someone like you to hear it again. You close your eyes and let your head tilt back. The ceiling above creaks gently, the way wood does when it has nothing more to prove. You hear a pigeon outside the wall cooing into the dusk. A woman laughs somewhere far off. A child's voice carries up and vanishes, like a leaf caught in a small wind. These sounds are soft now. They no longer interrupt. They join. In your mind, you visit the pit again. Not the real one, the one in your memory. The way it felt when the air was still cool. When the idea of something cold living under this house was still alive. You remember the first time you touched the lid. How strange it was. That sharp little chill in your fingertips. Like the world had a secret and for one moment, it let you touch it. You breathe out slowly and open your eyes. The feather is still on the shelf. It has not moved. You find comfort in that. Not everything fades. Some things stay. Small things. Forgotten things. You begin to notice how many of them live around you. The scratch in the floor tile that looks like a river if you squint. The bit of blue paint left behind on the wall from some ceremony no one remembers. The stool with the uneven leg that creaks once every time you sit. These are your companions now. You stop trying to fix them. You let them be what they are. The boy never returned. You think about him sometimes, how he sat beside you without needing answers. You hope he remembers the room. Not because of what was in it, but because of how it felt. That would be enough. You no longer dream of snow. Or of the round room with the pool that never moved. Your dreams are quieter now. Less like visions, more like echoes. Sometimes it feels like you're walking through your own breath. Through corridors made of old thoughts. Nothing happens. But everything is there. Just without urgency. You begin to bring fewer things to the room. At first, you used to carry offerings, little tokens, small pieces of your day. Now you bring only yourself. That seems enough. The room does not ask for more. One evening, as you sit in the deepening twilight, you imagine the nobleman again. Where he is. If he thinks about this place. If he ever wonders what happened to the ice. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. You realize it no longer matters. What he wanted brought you here, but he is not the reason you stayed. He only built the box. You built the silence. You stay until the stars come out. You don't count them. You let them appear one by one, like slow exhalations. You watch them shimmer through the slats of the high vent. The wind shifts gently. It smells of something old, not rot, not life, just time. You let the scent wrap around your face. You feel your breath slow even more. Your body becomes heavier, but in a kind way. As if the floor is reaching up, holding you steady. And then, something unexpected happens. You feel cold. Just a whisper of it. Not enough to shiver. Just enough to wonder. You smile, eyes half closed. Maybe it's the stone remembering. Maybe it's the silence exhaling. Maybe it's your own memory folding back on itself. You don't reach for it. You don't question it. You let it pass. You lie back, your hands resting on your chest, your legs loose, your thoughts softer than dust. And as your eyes close once more, not because you must, but because there is nothing else to do, you feel yourself sink. Not fall. Not drop. Just sink. Gently. Deeply. Into the memory of cold. Into the quietest part of yourself. Into a story that is almost done, but not quite. Because even now, after all of it, some part of the ice still lives inside you. Still waiting. Still listening. Still whispering. Sleep now. There is a kind of freedom in routine. Not the loud kind people write about in psalms or carve into monuments. Not the kind with banners and boldness. But a soft kind, the freedom of not needing to decide, of letting your body move through the same shapes each day like water following a groove it carved long ago. That's what this walk has become. Not a task. Not even a habit. Just something your limbs do now, gently, like a second breath. You step over the same stone that wobbles underfoot. You avoid the same shadow cast by the same crooked beam. You greet the same quiet doorway not with thought, but with presence. The air inside the house has changed again. Not colder, no. That's long gone now. But lighter. Emptier. You can feel the room exhale when you enter, as if it's relieved to have company again. Or maybe you're imagining that. It doesn't matter. In this place, your imagination is as valid as the walls. You sit in your usual spot, though you no longer think of it as usual. It's not a place on the floor. It's a place in time. A space between noise and forgetting. Your body settles without instruction. Your spine bends just so. Your hands fall onto your knees like they've always belonged there. The silence folds around you like a shawl worn thin but soft with age. You haven't spoken in this room for days. Maybe weeks. You aren't counting anymore. There's nothing to say. Nothing to prove. The cold has gone. The visitors have gone. Even the sense of watching has faded. Now it's just you and the quiet. You think, this must be what the end of a song feels like, after the last note fades, but no one claps. No one moves. They just sit in the stillness, not because they have to, but because they don't want to break it. Sometimes you hear footsteps outside. Sometimes a shadow crosses the far wall. But no one enters. People have forgotten this place now. Or maybe they haven't forgotten, they've just chosen to ignore it. In a world that shouts and shines, no one cares to listen to an empty room where ice used to sleep. But you care. You don't know why. You never decided to. You just do. The lid over the pit is dusty now. The crack hasn't grown. It simply rests, like a closed eye. You brush the dust gently with your fingers. Not to clean. Just to feel the difference between what was and what is. The stone is worn. Not disappointingly so, just real. Just honest. You wonder if there's anything left beneath it. Perhaps a puddle. Perhaps just straw. Perhaps the air itself has filled the space, sealing it with stillness instead of stone. You never asked the nobleman if you could stay. You never needed to. He never returned. Or maybe he did, when you weren't here. Maybe he stood in this room once more, placed his hand on the stone, and felt nothing. Maybe he nodded and left, satisfied or disappointed or empty. It doesn't matter. This place no longer belongs to purpose. It belongs to patience. You bring your own water now. You sip it slowly. It's never cold, but it doesn't need to be. The cold was never the point. The ice was just the excuse. What mattered was what the ice created, the space around it, the quiet it required, the ritual it gave you. The moment in a day where you stopped pretending the world made sense and instead just sat inside it. One day, you find a bird inside the room. A small thing. Brown. Nervous. It flutters near the ceiling, confused. You stay still. Let it decide. Eventually, it finds the vent again and vanishes into the white light beyond. You smile. Not because it was beautiful. Not because it meant anything. Just because it happened here. You think, maybe this is how all sacred places begin. Not with lightning. Not with drums. But with one person who keeps showing up. Who sits. Who listens. Who remembers. You lie back, hands behind your head, eyes half closed. You don't expect to sleep. But you do. Not all at once. Not like falling. More like tipping into a pool that has been waiting for your shape. In your dream, there is no snow. There is no cold. There is no room. Only light. Soft. Pale. Endless. You walk through it slowly. You are not wearing shoes. You are not wearing anything heavy. Just breath. Just the sound of your feet against ground that isn't there. And when you wake, the stone beneath you is still there. The dust has not moved. The feather still rests where you left it. Everything is the same. And yet, the world feels newer. Like a page turned softly in a book no one remembers writing. You stretch. You breathe. You don't rush. There's no need to. The ice is gone. But you are still here. And in this quiet, in this stillness that no longer needs a reason, you have found something colder, deeper, and more lasting than ice. You have found peace. You no longer think of this house as a place. It feels more like a pause in the world, a held breath in the middle of motion. When you walk toward it now, you don't think of walls or doors or floors. You think of a mood. A weightlessness. A kind of thick quiet that wraps around your thoughts and lowers your shoulders, like a gentle hand on your back. And though your feet still press into the same dusty path, your mind arrives sooner, already resting in that silence before your body even passes through the threshold. You still enter through the same crooked door. You still touch the wall without thinking. You still sit in the same spot, with the same posture, on the same mat that has grown thin from your shape. But none of it feels routine anymore. It feels sacred, though you would never call it that. You're not a priest. There is no ritual. There is only presence. The stone lid hasn't moved. Of course not. Nothing dramatic ever happens here. That's part of its beauty. Even decay is slow. Even endings take their time. You run your hand across the surface. It's smoother now. Your fingertips know its ridges, its shallow chip at the corner, its long, whispering crack. You've memorized the details the same way one might memorize a friend's face, not because you have to, but because you want to remember even the imperfections. The feather is still there, though dust has gathered around it like a halo. You leave it untouched. Let it stay. It belongs now. As much as you do. You close your eyes and feel the room's rhythm. Not a beat. Not a song. Just the slow shifting of air. The distant echo of your own breath folding back to meet you. You don't try to clear your mind. You don't try to think either. You let your thoughts wander like lazy clouds. Sometimes they drift over old memories, a market full of voices, the river at night, your mother grinding grain in a rhythm that sounded like prayer. Other times they drift over nothing at all. Just space. Just the soft hum of being. A servant boy walks past the door once. He glances in. His eyes linger. He says nothing. You nod. He walks on. The world no longer questions why you are here. The strangeness has faded. You have become part of the landscape, like the leaning fence or the tired well that no one uses but no one removes. You are expected, even when unacknowledged. And that, strangely, feels like love. You lie back, letting your spine settle into the mat's old shape. You stretch your fingers, then let them rest across your belly. There is nothing to do. No reason to leave. The air is warm now, but not aggressive. It presses against your skin like a worn-out blanket, no longer capable of heat, only weight. You close your eyes again. The lids are heavier now. Your chest rises and falls slower. Each breath begins to feel optional. Like a gentle wave, not an effort. You think about the ice, but not directly. Not as a thing that once was. More like a feeling that still lingers. The kind of memory that isn't in your head, but in your bones. You realize now, it was never about the ice itself. It was about what the ice allowed. A pause. A hush. A place where the world stepped back just enough to let you be still. You remember the early days, the nobleman with his strange request, the digging, the building, the confusion. You remember your doubt. Your curiosity. The way you first touched the lid and felt a sharpness in your fingers, as if cold could pierce through certainty. It all feels distant now. Soft. Worn thin like old cloth. Outside, you hear the first drumbeat of the evening, slow and far away. Someone is preparing for a wedding. Or a funeral. Or both. Life doesn't separate the two as clearly as we pretend. You smile faintly, eyes still closed. That smile doesn't come from joy or sadness. Just from recognition. You know now that all things melt. All things change form. All things return to silence. You dream again, but you don't remember what of. You only know that it was slow. And soft. And good. When you wake, the room is darker. The vent above lets in only a sliver of fading gold. The dust floats like tiny stars. You watch them move. They don't fall. They drift. Aimless. Peaceful. You feel your body returning, piece by piece, from wherever sleep had taken it. Your hands first. Then your breath. Then your thoughts. And finally, your eyes. You sit up. The stone beneath you is still warm. You stand. Stretch. Touch the wall once more. You don't say goodbye. The room would not want it. Instead, you turn and walk into the twilight. Your steps are slower now. Not tired. Just steady. Your body knows how to return. It knows how to keep stillness with it even outside the walls. You walk past the city gate, past the fields, past the water jars. You nod to those who don't ask where you've been. You carry no cold in your hands. No object. No proof. Only quiet. Only the memory of breath that no longer rushed. Only the shape of a room where silence taught you how to sleep. The room does not need you, not in the way a house needs repair or a fire needs tending. It has learned to exist without purpose now, to breathe without being watched. And yet, you return. Not out of habit anymore, but out of something quieter. Something like devotion, though you'd never call it that. You don't kneel. You don't chant. You simply show up. You walk the same slow path, past the same familiar stones, hear the same crow complain from the crooked tree near the neighbor's gate. You pause at the door, as always, not because you must, but because it feels right to let the silence greet you first. When you enter, you notice how little has changed, which is, in its own way, deeply comforting. The same shape of light slants in from the high vent. The same line of dust curls along the wall like a forgotten signature. The feather, still where you left it, has gathered a soft crown of new particles, time's gentle way of saying, I'm still here. You sit without thinking. The mat receives you like an old friend who doesn't need your words. You press your back into the wall and let your head tilt until your eyes find the same spot in the ceiling you've stared at for weeks now. There is nothing remarkable about it, but it's familiar. And in a world that changes with or without permission, familiarity is its own kind of miracle. You remember how it all began, not the work, but the feeling. That first moment when your fingers touched stone that should have been hot but wasn't. That thin, shocking cool. How you paused, how your body leaned in, not toward the lid, but toward the question it offered. How is this here? Why is it here? How long will it stay? You remember not having answers. And now, all these months later, you realize you still don't. And that no longer bothers you. The room hums around you. Not with sound, but with weight. With presence. With memory. You wonder if rooms can remember people. Not faces or names, but the way someone sits. The shape of their breath. The rhythm of their quiet. Maybe the walls know you now. Maybe they hold your outline like a shadow you forgot to take with you. Or maybe it's only you who remembers. You, carrying this silence with you like a folded cloth tucked under the heart. Outside, the city groans in the familiar ways. A merchant yelling too early in the day. Children laughing like nothing matters. A donkey braying with the exact pitch of mild despair. You let it all pass through you without catching. These sounds used to irritate. Now they're just evidence that the world continues, whether or not you notice. And you found a place outside of it. Not above it. Not beneath. Just outside. Watching. Breathing. Still. You lie down on your side. The mat creaks slightly. The stone beneath it, too. Everything makes a sound if you listen long enough. Even silence is full of tiny movements, air shifting, dust settling, breath catching and releasing. You begin to count them. Not to track. Not to measure. Just to feel the rhythm. 1 shift. 2 breaths. 3 moments. Then you forget the numbers. Let them blur. Let them vanish. In your mind, the pit is still there. You don't know what's inside anymore. You've never opened it. Not since the first ceiling. Not since the first signs of melting. Part of you wonders what remains. A crust of straw. A puddle long dried. Maybe nothing. But you don't open it. Not because you're afraid, but because the unknowing feels more peaceful. Some things are more whole when left untouched. The idea of the ice has lasted longer than the ice itself. And that idea still lives in this room. In the air. In the dust. In you. You bring no gifts today. No fruit. No stone. Not even a story to tell yourself. You've learned that presence is enough. To be here. To breathe here. To offer your silence and receive the room's silence in return. This is the exchange now. Not words. Not effort. Just stillness given, stillness kept. You close your eyes again. Let your limbs grow heavy. Not with exhaustion, but with rest. With surrender. With that deep kind of calm that doesn't ask for sleep, but welcomes it when it comes. Your mind drifts, not toward a dream, but toward a memory of dreaming. You think of that old field near the edge of the city, the one with tall grass and a broken wall no one ever fixed. You remember lying there as a child, staring at the sky, wondering how it stayed up. You remember the warm dirt beneath your hands. The way ants marched across your fingers, fearless and focused. That same feeling is here now. Not nostalgia, but simplicity. The sense that you don't need anything more than what is already around you. The stone. The mat. The slant of light. The thin trace of coolness that may only live in your skin's memory. When you wake, if you slept, though you're no longer sure where the line between rest and waking is, the room has not changed. The dust still floats. The feather still waits. The crack in the lid has not grown. You sit up slowly, stretch your fingers, move each toe as if reminding them they still belong to a body. You stand. You don't speak. You leave the house as quietly as you entered, the door clicking shut with the soft weight of history. Outside, the sky is turning pink at the edges. Not bright. Just the kind of color that reminds you the day is always beginning somewhere. You walk past your neighbor's clay oven. Still warm. You walk past the old scribe's window. Still humming. You walk past the tired well. Still tired. And yet everything feels lighter. You do not look back at the house. You don't need to. It is with you now. In your spine. In your silence. In the new way you hold your breath when the world gets too loud. You've become part of the pause. And in that pause, there is sleep. Not as an escape, but as a return. To stillness. To peace. To the cold that once was, and is no longer, but still lingers in the quiet parts of you. You wake before the sun, as you always do now. Not because of duty or noise or hunger, but because your body has learned the rhythm of the silence. It rises early, not for the world, but for the quiet that comes before it, the thin window of hush before the birds, before the markets, before the day begins its usual clatter. You sit for a long while in your home, unmoving, watching the light gently leak into the corners of the room. The shadows are softest at this hour. The walls still remember the coolness of the night, and your feet rest against the clay floor as if the earth itself has exhaled and become still again. There's no one awake yet to notice that you're gone when you leave, and if they did, they would say nothing. They've grown used to your mornings. The path to the stone house is familiar now in the dark. You no longer need to see the way. Your feet know where to step, how to move around the sharp stone near the gate, when to shift your balance on the slope where the earth gives just a little too much. It feels more like gliding than walking. Like your body is drawn there not by will but by remembering. You approach the door, fingers brushing against the wood, and the weight of your touch is enough. It opens like it knows you. Like it was never locked, only waiting. Inside, the darkness remains. Deeper than outside. Thicker. But not heavy. Not unwelcome. Just deep. You close the door slowly behind you and let your breath settle into the shape of the room. There's no need for light yet. Your body moves without thought, the slow bend to sit, the small sound the mat makes under you, the roll of your shoulder as it finds its usual place against the cool wall. And then, you do nothing. You listen to nothing. You wait for nothing. You just exist, here, again, with the house. There's a peace that comes from returning to a place that has not changed. A kind of whispered agreement between you and the space around you. You won't ask anything of it. It won't ask anything of you. You will simply share the stillness. Share the time. You close your eyes, and even with them shut, you can picture every detail, the feather still perched on the shelf, the crack across the stone lid like a line drawn by a tired hand, the faint smell of dry straw, not fresh anymore but no longer rotting. Suspended. Resting. Like everything else in this room. You wonder if time moves slower here, or if it only feels that way because your thoughts move slower when you are inside. Outside, time is loud. It scrapes and shouts and pulls. But here, in this still cave of stone and dust, it sighs. It waits. It remembers. And sometimes, you do too. Your mind drifts, not because it is pulled, but because it has permission. You think of the early days again, when the ice was real and present, when the chill surprised you. You remember the way the nobleman's hand lingered over the bowl, his eyes full of something you didn't understand at the time. Maybe wonder. Maybe grief. Maybe both. You wonder where he is now. If he still dreams of the cold. Or if he has moved on to another impossible desire. A house full of flowers in a city without water. A statue made of wind. Some men build not because they believe something should exist, but because they want to see if it can. But your thoughts don't linger there. They move on, brushing past faces and moments the way a soft wind moves through a curtain. You think of the boy who sat with you in silence, his questions short, his understanding deeper than his words. You wonder if he will return one day, as a man, or a memory, or not at all. It doesn't matter. This place doesn't ask for return. Only presence. The dust dances in a morning light now. Just a few threads of brightness slicing down from the high vent above, catching tiny pieces of the air and giving them shape. You watch the light slowly move across the floor. It does not hurry. You feel your body matching it, your chest rising and falling at the same rhythm, your heart slowing to its pace. Even your thoughts begin to dissolve. Not vanish, just loosen. Like knots untied without needing to be pulled. The room feels warmer today. The air more still. But it doesn't bother you. You no longer expect the coolness. That was a gift, and it has gone. What remains is something better. A kind of memory that doesn't ache. A stillness that holds no sadness. You feel the warmth like an old coat, once heavy, now soft, now yours. You lie down. The mat folds under your weight in the same way it always does, remembering your shape. Your hands rest on your chest. You close your eyes again. You do not expect dreams. You do not chase sleep. But it comes anyway. Slowly. Not like a curtain falling, but like light fading. You feel it begin in your fingers, in your shoulders, in the muscles behind your eyes. The room accepts you. The walls breathe with you. And as you drift, the memory of cold returns. But not as snow. Not as ice. Just as space. Space inside you that once held a miracle. And still remembers how. When you wake, if you can call it waking, the light is higher now. The room is brighter, but no less gentle. You sit up. Your limbs feel longer. Slower. Your breath comes easy. The silence greets you again, unbroken. Unchanging. You look around, not searching, just seeing. The room is still here. And so are you. You press your palm against the lid. It is warm. But you do not mourn it. You do not need it to be cold. It was once. That was enough. You whisper thank you, not aloud, but through your skin. Through your breath. Through the way you stand before leaving. Outside, the day has fully arrived. But it does not feel urgent. You move through it gently, like a person who remembers something the rest of the world has forgotten. Something quiet. Something invisible. Something precious. And in your footsteps, in the spaces between your thoughts, the stillness travels with you. Soft as dust. Quiet as sleep. Cool as memory. You find yourself visiting the house later in the day now. Not early, not with purpose, not with the quiet urgency you once had. The mornings belong to the world again, the sounds of sharpening tools, of grain being sifted, of impatient goats and water jars clinking against sunburnt hands. You let those things pass by without stepping into them. They belong to others now. You rise slowly, drink slowly, dress slowly. There is no rush in you anymore. The stillness that once lived only inside the room has stretched its limbs and taken root in your bones. You do not need the house to feel it. But still, you return. Not because something calls, but because something remains. By mid-afternoon, the sun has already worn down the stones of the street. Everything breathes heat, the walls, the water, even the light. But you've grown unbothered by it. Your skin doesn't flinch. Your feet carry you with their own knowing. You take the same turn, step past the same leaning wall, nod at the same sleepy merchant who never looks up. It's a small path now, not just through the city, but through time. Through memory. Through silence. Each step brings you back, not just to the house, but to the shape of stillness you once touched and now carry. The house does not change. That is what makes it holy, though no one says that word. Its doorway greets you with the same dry creak, the same slight resistance, the same warmth of a place that holds no judgment. You step inside and breathe in the smell of old straw, settled dust, and something else, something that doesn't have a scent but still fills the air. The feather is still on the shelf. You don't dust it. You don't move it. You don't even look at it long. Just knowing it's there is enough. You sit. The mat receives you. The stone says nothing. The room hums its old, wordless lullaby. You let your shoulders sink. Your spine curl. Your jaw loosen. Your thoughts do not rush to meet you. They wait. Like polite guests, like leaves not yet stirred by wind. You touch the floor beside you, not searching for anything, only reminding your body that it is here, now, in a place where the sun has never won. You rest your head against the wall, and the stone holds you with its silent weight. Time passes here in the way dreams pass, without edges, without sound, without any sense of arrival or leaving. You know the hours move, that the shadows shift, that the heat outside changes shape. But inside, nothing presses you forward. The world can wait. The noise can wait. Even your own breath seems to move at the room's permission. Inhale. Wait. Exhale. Float. You think, softly, without force, about the first time you lay down here. The way the cool air had surprised your skin, made your chest rise differently. The way the lid had seemed to breathe under your fingers. It hadn't. Of course it hadn't. But it had felt that way. Everything had felt possible. A small, impossible miracle, right beneath your feet. And somehow, you had become its keeper. Now, the stone is worn. The miracle has gone. And still, you come. You wonder what that means, what it says about you, about the space, about the nature of things that lose their reason and remain anyway. Most people build for function. For use. But some spaces, you've learned, outlive their purpose and become something else. Not emptiness. Not nostalgia. Just presence. A place that doesn't ask you to remember, or to forget. Just to be. Just to breathe. Just to sit. You shift slightly, the sound of the mat beneath you barely more than a sigh. You don't know how long you'll stay today. You stopped asking yourself that question long ago. Some visits are brief. Others stretch until night. It makes no difference. The room does not record time. The walls do not count. The feather does not judge. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to listen. And when you listen, you do not hear silence. Not exactly. You hear the slow creaking of your joints. The distant murmur of the city's breath. The whisper of your own heartbeat moving through your wrists like a tiny river. These sounds do not interrupt the quiet. They are part of it. They soften into it, the way a shadow softens against dusk. You wonder, not with worry, but with gentleness, how long the house will last. The stones are old. The crack in the lid is longer now, though it doesn't spread. It waits. Like everything here. But nothing waits forever. One day, the roof will fall. Or the wind will take the walls. Or someone will build something new where this room now rests. It could be a kitchen. Or a stable. Or a place to store broken tools. Someone will walk inside and not know what this space once was. They'll feel nothing. Or maybe they will feel something they can't name. A hush. A breath. A memory that doesn't belong to them. You hope they leave the feather. You hope they sit for a moment in wonder. You lie down slowly, stretching each leg as if it has forgotten how long it is. Your arms fold across your stomach. Your head turns toward the light. The vent is smaller now in your vision, not because it has changed, but because you see it with different eyes. Eyes that no longer search. Eyes that accept. Sleep begins the way it always does in this place. Not like falling. Not like sinking. But like melting. Like ice turning into air. You feel it begin at the edge of your hands. In the weight of your eyelids. In the pause between two thoughts. Your body forgets what it means to be tired. It just stops trying to be anything at all. And as the warmth wraps around you, not like fire, but like wool, like smoke, like dusk, you remember the ice, not as a thing, but as a moment. A hush. A breath. A kindness in the heat. It is gone. But it lived once. And because of that, something in you remains cooler than the world around you. Not your skin. Not your breath. Something quieter. You let go. Not of the room. Not of the stone. But of the needing. You need nothing here. Only stillness. Only time. Only the soft, silent rhythm of a room that no longer waits to be useful. Only sleep. It's evening now when you arrive. Not twilight, not golden hour, not the sharp moment where the sky glows with drama. No, this is the hour after all of that, when the light has forgotten to be interesting and simply becomes dim. The shadows are soft, longer than they need to be, and they don't ask for attention. The city is quieter at this time. The children are inside. The carts have stopped clattering. Even the animals seem less determined to be heard. The only sound that walks beside you is your own breath, steady, shallow, unbothered. You step through the gate, past the familiar courtyard stones. A breeze passes, not cool, but not warm either, just there, like a friend who walks with you without needing to talk. The sun has already dropped behind the houses, leaving behind a faint glow that outlines rooftops and forgets the ground. The door to the house is in shadow. You know exactly where to place your hand to find it. The wood, worn smooth from countless touches, feels like something older than your memory. You push it open slowly, not because it's hard to move, but because rushing would feel wrong here. Everything about this house asks you to be slower. Inside, the darkness welcomes you, wrapping around your shoulders like a familiar cloth. You don't reach for a lamp. You don't need one. The room glows faintly now, not from light but from memory. You can feel where everything is, the curve of the wall, the faint dent in the floor, the spot on the mat that gives under your weight. You move through the room without thinking. Your body remembers better than your mind does. You sit down and let the silence stretch its arms around you. There's a weight to it now, not heavy, not suffocating. Just full. Like thick air before a gentle rain. You lean back against the wall, and the stone accepts you. There is nothing left to notice. Nothing new to observe. You've seen every crack, every corner, every change in this place. And still, it offers more. Not more information. Not more meaning. Just more space to be quiet. You let your thoughts arrive slowly, one at a time, like people entering a room late and embarrassed. None of them demand attention. None of them push. They sit in the back row of your mind, content just to be near you. You think about the world outside, not with longing, not with fear. Just as something that still exists, like the sky or the river. You think about your neighbors, the ones who still rise early and rush through the day. You think about the sound of grinding grain, of sandals scuffing the dust, of someone arguing over a piece of spoiled fruit. It's all still there. All still loud. But here, in this moment, none of it can reach you. You stretch your legs out along the mat. The air is warmer tonight. But it's a soft warmth, the kind that rests on your skin instead of pressing through it. You feel your muscles loosen, your shoulders fall. Even your eyes relax, as if the lids are heavier now, as if they too have decided that looking is no longer necessary. You think, briefly, about the pit beneath the stone. About what might still lie there. Water, perhaps, long evaporated. Bits of straw. Nothing at all. But the thought doesn't linger. You no longer need to know. Whatever was there, was. Whatever remains, remains. You have moved beyond the need to touch, to see, to verify. The miracle has become part of the room now, part of the breath you take here, part of the dust in the air, part of the quiet hum that never speaks but always listens. You lie back. Not carefully. Not dramatically. Just naturally. Your body knows how to find its shape in this place. Your arms fold over your chest. Your feet tilt slightly outward. Your breath falls into rhythm with the stone beneath you. You don't count it. You don't control it. It just happens. In. Out. Like waves that don't crash, only reach. You begin to dream before your eyes fully close. The dream doesn't come like a flash. It arrives slowly. Quietly. You see a room made of glass. Not the kind that reflects, but the kind that glows, soft, blue, filled with the echo of water. You are not cold. You are not wet. But you are surrounded by the sense of both. The floor beneath you is smooth. The light bends and curves, and you realize you are floating, not in water, not in air, in something else. Something without weight. And in that dream, you hear no voices. Just the slow turning of light itself. You do not speak. You do not think. You simply continue floating. And when you wake, you are still lying on the mat. The room hasn't moved. The feather is still there. The air has cooled, just slightly, as night settles into the cracks of the wall. You don't open your eyes right away. You listen first. To make sure the quiet hasn't left. To make sure the stillness is still yours. You think of how long it's been now, since the beginning, since the nobleman, since the first spark of cold that lived under the stone. You think about how much has changed, and how much hasn't. You wonder if the house knows how many versions of yourself have walked through its door. The curious one. The cautious one. The quiet one. The one who brought gifts. The one who stopped asking for answers. The one who simply breathed. You open your eyes slowly. The darkness is deeper now, but it's not empty. It's full of everything this room has ever held. Footsteps. Breath. Silence. Memory. You let your eyes trace the shapes you can't quite see, the way the stone catches what little light remains, the way the shadows fold into themselves like hands in prayer. You sit up gently. You don't want to disturb the space you've created, the delicate bubble of calm that wraps around you now. You place your hands on your knees and pause there. Breathing. Waiting. Not for anything. Just because it feels like the right thing to do. When you rise, your body feels lighter. Not because it's rested, but because it's let go. Of what, you don't know. Maybe the noise. Maybe the need to name things. Maybe the worry of forgetting. Whatever it was, it's not with you now. You walk to the door and open it slowly. The air outside smells of evening, of baked earth, fading fires, and distant flowers that only bloom in the dark. You step into it without a word. The stars above are sharp now, but you don't look up. You don't need to. The sky will still be there tomorrow. You walk home slowly, as always. And the house stays behind. But its silence walks with you. There's a particular kind of silence that only arrives once the world has finished speaking. It doesn't happen at nightfall, not exactly. Night still hums with 1,000 small voices, the crickets, the creak of settling stone, the hush of feet that don't want to be heard. This silence is something different. It waits until even those sounds grow tired. until the sky gives up on being blue and fades into something without a name. That's the silence that greets you now as you approach the house again. It feels almost thick enough to hold. Not heavy, just full. You walk without thinking. Your body knows the turns, the pace, the small sidestep where the ground dips. Your thoughts trail behind you, slow and dream-heavy, too soft to carry meaning. You're not worried about time anymore. You've stopped asking what day it is. The sun still rises. The sun still falls. That is enough. No one has asked where you go. If they wonder, they keep it to themselves. You are part of the background now. A shape that moves without disturbing. A whisper among louder voices. The house is waiting, as it always does. It never asks anything of you. Never rushes. Never changes its shape to please or surprise. It has become, somehow, more than a place. It's a rhythm now. A pause in the psalm of the day. You place your hand against the door, the wood dry and smooth, and it gives way with a sigh too soft to hear. You don't light a lamp. The dark inside is kind. Familiar. You know where to walk. You know where to sit. You don't even need to open your eyes. The room opens them for you. You lower yourself onto the mat, slowly, letting every joint respond with a quiet creak, like old floorboards remembering footsteps. You lean against the same wall. It welcomes you without warmth, without cold, just presence. You sigh, not from sadness, not from fatigue, but from release. From the knowledge that you do not have to be anyone here. Not a helper. Not a speaker. Not even a thinker. Just a body resting beside old stone and older silence. The lid is still there. Of course it is. The crack remains, soft and patient, like a line drawn by time itself. You do not touch it anymore. You don't need to. You know it as you know the feather still sitting on the shelf. As you know the way your breath sounds in this room compared to everywhere else, longer, deeper, quieter. You have become part of the house now. Part of its collection of gentle things. You let your thoughts drift backward, but not far. Not to childhood, not to work, not to the people you've lost or the dreams that changed shape. Just to the early days, the digging, the surprise of cold in your palm, the way the nobleman's eyes widened when he felt the ice. You remember the look on his face, not like someone who had gained something, but like someone who had remembered something, a childhood snow, maybe. A feeling he thought had vanished. That's what the cold does. It doesn't give. It reminds. And the reminder alone can change everything. You wonder if he still tells the story. I once stored ice in the desert, he might say, over fruit and wine. I built a room that stayed cool when the sand burned. Maybe he leaves out the part where the cold melted. Maybe he adds something that never happened. You don't blame him. Stories are supposed to change. That's how they stay alive. The silence deepens around you. It's not emptiness. It's fullness without pressure. You hear the soft tick of the air moving above the lid, through the narrow vent. The sound of breath that doesn't belong to lungs. You feel your shoulders sink lower. Your jaw release. Even your spine, that stubborn string of tension, finally bends. You are not meditating. You are not praying. You are not doing anything at all. And it is enough. You lie down slowly. The mat welcomes your weight. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to float. And in the dark behind your lids, you feel something familiar return, not an image, not a place, just the feeling of cold air on your face, from long ago. That moment when you opened the pit and saw the ice glisten, hard and perfect, like the world's most unlikely secret. It was real. You don't need to prove it. You don't even need to remember the shape. Just the way it felt on your fingertips. That's what remains. Your dreams do not come quickly now. They take their time. They glide in, patient, as if afraid to disturb the room. You dream of water, not a flood, not a river. Just a small ripple spreading across a bowl. The bowl is made of stone. The water is clear. You do not know where the ripple comes from. But it moves. And it moves forever. And that, in the dream, feels right. You wake once, or maybe you never slept, and the darkness has grown softer. More complete. You listen and hear only your own breath, which feels slower now. Not deep. Just wide. Spacious. You could stay like this forever. And in that thought, there is no desperation. No need. Just acceptance. The house has always given you this, not peace, not purpose, but permission. To stop. To soften. To become smaller without disappearing. You sit up slowly, and the air shifts with you. The feather still sits. The crack still rests. The lid still holds. You run your fingers along the mat, feeling the dust gather at the edges. Not dirty, just old. Just real. You wonder how many nights you've spent here. You do not count. The number would not help you. It is not the time that matters. It is the stillness that lives inside it. You rise. The door opens quietly, as always. You step into the night. It is completely dark now. The stars above you shimmer faintly, like distant promises made by a sky too far away to explain itself. You walk without sound. Past the neighbor's gate. Past the closed jars. Past the stone you always step over. You return home lighter, not because the room has taken anything from you, but because it reminded you that you didn't need to carry it. You lie down in your own bed. And still, in the space behind your eyes, beneath your breath, beneath the city and its noise, the house remains. It breathes. It listens. It teaches nothing. And you sleep. Sometimes, now, you wake in the middle of the night for no reason at all. Not startled. Not restless. Just gently awake. As though your dreams have brought you back to the surface like a leaf rising to the top of still water. There is no urgency in these moments. No fear. No memory sharp enough to pull you fully back. Only the dark, soft, and quiet, stretched out around you like a thought that hasn't yet formed into words. You sit up, slowly, so as not to break the shape of the night. The air is still, wrapped in the warmth left by the day. Your room is simple, almost blank. But your eyes don't search it. You're not looking for anything. Your mind is already drifting toward that other room. The one with stone walls, and old dust, and the kind of silence that lives inside you long after you've left it. You feel your breath start to slow. You don't even realize you're smiling, just a little, not because of joy, but because of recognition. That silence has followed you home again. You don't go to the house every day now. Not because you've forgotten. Not because it matters less. But because the room has moved inside you. You carry its quiet with you like water inside a sealed jar. It sloshes gently with every step, never spilling, never loud. You can sit anywhere now, beneath a tree, beside the river, in the corner of your own small room, and still feel as though the house is around you. It isn't the walls that matter. It's the breath between sounds. The space between thoughts. But tonight, in the hush of sleeplessness, you decide to go. There's no candle. No lamp. You walk by feel and by memory. The streets are emptier than usual. Even the dogs are asleep. The moon is hidden behind a soft veil of clouds, offering no help and no opinion. You move like a shadow without a shape. Past the wells. Past the trees. Past the stone you always avoid. Every sound is softened now. Your steps, your breath, the faint rustle of leaves that seem to sleep more deeply than people do. The door to the house is as you left it. Always is. You wonder who else has come here. Maybe no one. Maybe many. Maybe someone stood at this door and left before entering, sensing the hush inside was not ready to be disturbed. You step in slowly. There is no light. You don't need it. The room wraps around you the moment you cross the threshold. The air is warmer than usual, still as breath held for too long. You wait a moment in the doorway, letting the silence take notice of you, welcoming you back. And then, gently, you sit. The mat is softer than you remember. Or maybe you are softer. You lean back, eyes closed, hands in your lap, knees slightly bent, and you just listen. Not to anything specific. Not for anything. Just to the way the room sounds when no one speaks. It is not empty. It is full of quiet. That is different. You wonder how long it takes to teach a space to hold silence like this. If it happens on purpose. Or if silence simply settles in, like dust, when left alone long enough. You lie down, not with any ceremony, not for sleep, though you know it will come, but just to feel the stone beneath you. The ground is cool in places, warm in others. It remembers the day, the night, and your body all at once. You place your hands over your chest and feel your breath move through them. It is a kind breath. Not rushed. Not shallow. Just there. A rhythm with no name. You think about the ice again. Not often anymore. But tonight, you let the thought return. Not the shape of it, not the sharp edges or the glistening surface. But the feeling it gave. That tiny, impossible miracle. Cold in the desert. Memory in the present. A secret between you and the stone. You wonder what it would feel like now, pressed against your fingers. Would it still surprise you? Or would your skin simply nod, already knowing? But the ice is gone. And it does not hurt. You don't miss it like you thought you would. You've learned to miss things in a gentler way now. Like waving at a boat long past the shore. You don't cry out. You don't chase. You simply watch it shrink into the distance and say, quietly, thank you for stopping here. The feather is still on the shelf. You haven't touched it in weeks. It gathers more dust each time you come. It bends slightly in the middle now, curling under its own weight. You wonder if you should move it. Save it. Restore it. But the thought passes. Things are allowed to change. To fade. To bow. You smile at the feather in the dark, knowing it doesn't care. And neither do you. Outside, the wind picks up for a moment. It passes through the vent high above, brushing the top of the room like a sigh. A bit of dust falls from the ceiling. You see it catch the moonlight and twist in the air before settling silently. Even the dust knows how to move without sound. You close your eyes again. There is no dream tonight. Only the slow return of breath, and the warmth of stone, and the peace of not needing anything. You don't wait for sleep. You don't notice when it begins. It creeps into you like cool water soaking into cloth, slowly, fully, invisibly. When you wake, if this even counts as waking, you are still in the room. Still lying there. Still breathing gently. The silence hasn't moved. It never does. It simply makes space for you, whether you stay or go. You sit up, slowly. Your joints are stiff in that pleasant way. You stretch. You don't rush. You look around the room without thinking. You've seen it all before. But tonight, it feels like it's looking back. Not with eyes. Just with presence. With acceptance. You place your hand on the lid one last time. The stone is warm. But it doesn't push you away. It says nothing. As always. You rise. You walk to the door. The sky outside is pale now, just beginning to remember how to be morning. The stars are dimming. The clouds have wandered off. The world will wake soon. But you still carry sleep with you. Not in your eyes, but in your breath. In your silence. In the room that still hums softly inside you. You walk home with your hands in your sleeves, your body soft, your thoughts folded. And somewhere behind you, in a house no one visits, the quiet continues. Waiting. Holding. Sleeping. The days pass now without ceremony. They begin without announcement. They end without effort. You no longer mark them by events, by weather, or even by words. There are no milestones to track. No festivals to prepare for. Your calendar is simpler now, made up of long pauses, small silences, and the occasional visit to a house that seems to exist just slightly outside of time. Even when you do not walk its path, it stays with you. Inside your body. Inside the folds of your quietest breath. You rise slowly now. Not from age, not from fatigue, just because speed no longer feels necessary. You move like water spreading across stone, not trying to get anywhere, not trying to become anything. Just moving, because that is what water does. You wash your face in the same cracked bowl. You wrap the same linen over your shoulders. You eat a fig that tastes of old light and soil. And then you sit for a while, eyes resting on nothing. You listen to the sound of your own chewing, and when it stops, the sound of your own not chewing. There is peace in both. You visit the house less now. But tonight, just as the air has begun to cool, just as the world begins to shrink into itself, you feel the room calling to you again. Not in words. Not even in feeling. Just a slight leaning inward. As if your spine has remembered something your mind hasn't named. You stand. You leave. You don't say where you're going. No one asks anymore. You have become a person who belongs to silence. The walk is long, but it doesn't matter. The street is familiar, not because of its shape, but because of the way it lets you go without asking questions. The city has curled into sleep. Doors are shut. Lamps are few. A breeze follows you part of the way, then leaves. You pass the old goat pen, empty now, and the fig seller's stall with its woven mat tied up like a closed eye. You pass the house where the widow sings in the morning but not at night. You wonder if she dreams of her song. You wonder if songs ever dream back. When you reach the door, you pause. You always do. Not to knock. Not to prepare. But because the act of entering still feels like a crossing. Even after all this time. Even with no one watching. You place your hand against the door and feel the faint heat it's held from the day. And then, slowly, softly, you press forward. The air inside greets you not with temperature, but with recognition. As if the room remembers the shape of your footsteps. As if the dust has chosen not to settle where you might lie. You breathe in and feel your chest expand in the familiar way it only does here. You sit. You do not straighten your back. You do not adjust your robe. You simply sit, and the mat accepts your weight without comment. The feather is still there. It always is. It has bent more now. The dust around it has gathered into a small, silent hill. You wonder how many days have passed since you first placed it there. You do not count. You do not calculate. You only nod, as if to say, I remember. And that is enough. You lie back slowly. The crack in the lid beneath you does not speak. It never has. But tonight, it feels wider, not broken, just older. You press your hand to the stone and feel its warmth. It holds you gently. The stone does not complain about your weight. It does not remind you of what it once held. It only listens. You think, as you often do now, about the cold. Not as an object. Not even as a memory. But as a space. A small clearing inside you that never warmed back up. Not because of sorrow, but because it chose to remain. like a shaded pool beneath a tree that outlived the forest. You no longer imagine touching it. You no longer long for the feeling of ice on your skin. You have become the silence that lived around the ice. Your breath is slow now. You feel it moving up and down your chest like a tide too tired to crash. The house breathes with you. Its silence has settled in your bones. You dream, but it's not a dream with pictures. Not with places. Just a slow feeling of floating, and the knowledge that nothing needs you right now. You drift between sleep and waking like a stone rests at the bottom of a river. Still. Hidden. Undisturbed. When you wake, if you can call it that, the room is no darker or lighter than before. Time does not announce itself here. You sit up. Slowly. You press your palms together and feel the heat between them. You place them on your lap, and for a long time, you do nothing. You simply feel what it is like to be a person in a room. Breathing. Listening. Present. You remember something the nobleman said, long ago, when the ice was still alive: "This is impossible. But I want it." And now, years later, you understand. The miracle was not the ice. It was the want. The will to keep something cold in a world made of fire. The human desire to hold on to something fragile, just because. You do not know what you will do with this room. If you will ever stop coming. If someone else will find it. If it will fall into itself and vanish. It does not matter. Because tonight, and maybe only tonight, you are here. And it is here. And the silence between you is whole. You rise. The floor beneath your feet holds steady. You walk to the door. The night outside is deep now, almost velvet. The stars have gathered again. But you do not look up. You walk home slowly, like someone returning from prayer. Though no God was mentioned. Only breath. Only stone. Only the hush of something that once was cold, and now is something else entirely. And as you lie back down on your own mat, miles away but not far at all, the room follows you. Its dust. Its air. Its absence of noise. The long echo of something that lived in silence and left silence behind. You close your eyes. And it closes its eyes with you. There is no beginning to tonight. You do not rise. You do not prepare. You do not decide to go. You are simply already walking, your feet finding the worn path before your thoughts catch up. You do not remember leaving your room. You do not remember the moment you turned toward the house. The sky above is low and thick with stars that do not twinkle. They only watch. The ground beneath you feels soft, almost padded, like the city has wrapped itself in something gentle for the night. Your hands are empty. Your breath is shallow, but steady. You reach the house and do not hesitate. There is no moment of pause, no greeting. You move through the door like water through a gap in stone. The inside greets you not with recognition now, but with oneness. You are not entering the room. You are becoming it. You sit before you realize you've sat. You lean before your shoulders give permission. The mat beneath you does not shift. It remembers you too well. The lid still holds its silence. The crack is no longer something to measure. It has become part of the design. The feather is there, of course. You never moved it. And now it seems impossible that it could be anywhere else. The dust that clings to it is soft and gray and full of time. You look at it for a moment longer than usual. Not with thought. Just with presence. You lie down without feeling the movement. Your back meets the mat. Your head tilts toward the far wall. Your arms find their resting place as if they've done this for centuries. Perhaps they have. Time, in this house, has no edges anymore. The past does not sit behind you. The future does not wait ahead. There is only this quiet, this weightlessness, This warm stillness that wraps around your body and makes you forget you ever had to hold yourself up. You close your eyes, not because you are tired, but because there is nothing left to see. The stone does not speak. The silence is complete. It is no longer a lack of sound. It is a sound all its own, the hush of a world that stopped needing to explain itself. Your thoughts begin to melt, slowly, like snow in a shaded jar. You do not chase them. You do not stop them. You let them drift. One thought moves past, the memory of a child's question from long ago. Is it still cold? Another thought comes, softer, the image of the nobleman's ball, that perfect square of ice dissolving in the desert heat. Then nothing. Then only breath. In. Out. In again. The dream comes differently now. It does not begin. It has always been. You are walking through a room made of light. The floor is warm. The air tastes like memory. You pass two shapes you cannot name, shadows of sounds, echoes of things you've forgotten but still belong to. You are not seeking. You are not arriving. You are simply moving, the way light moves through water, slow and certain and without a goal. You do not wake. Not sharply. You simply return to the room, the real one, the stone one, the one with the cracked lid and the feather and the slanted beam of moonlight that cuts across the floor like a whispered line in a language no one speaks anymore. You are still lying there. Still breathing. Still warm. You sit up slowly, not to leave, but to feel the moment shift. The silence welcomes your motion. The mat releases your shape. You look at the lid one more time. You do not touch it. You never did again. The ice is long gone. You do not need to confirm it. You feel it now, not under the stone, but within yourself, a cold that became calm, a moment that became memory. You rise. The room does not say goodbye. You walk to the door. The night outside is darker than before, but kinder. The air is thick, but not heavy. The city is still. Even the wind is sleeping. You do not look back. You do not need to. The room has entered you now. It lives inside your breath. Inside your posture. Inside the space between your thoughts. You walk slowly. Each step further from the house. Each step deeper into peace. Your eyes close before you lie down in your own bed. The silence follows you. It curls at your feet. It settles into your shoulders. It rests on your eyelids. It tells you nothing. It asks nothing. It simply keeps you still. And in your mind, far below the surface of thought, you feel the last breath of the cold. Not ice. Not memory. Just stillness. And sleep. Forever sleep.